Hello, it's Chip Shirley, the Dixie Dove. I'm doing the first Dixie Dove radio show right now. It's going to be short and to the point. If you want to call, leave a message, I'll get back to you. Our answering system isn't up right now. We can't take live calls right now. But it's 706-850-1748. Give a call, leave a message. I'll answer it on the air. I'll play your call on the air. Or write chip@chipshirley.com, or just go to chipshirley.com, leave a comment about Ferguson. What's going on in Ferguson is this. There's been a big change in policing in the United States of America over my lifetime. I'm 59. Big, more aggressive change. Some of it had to do with, the drug war, which we're going to have to deal with. But, that led to all kinds of extra, more forceful policing activities. Led to a lot more underground economy and slash crime. And so that's just got everybody's tension on edge. We're getting to a point that it's just kind of silly. But what Officer Wilson did is wet a line, even considering the circumstances today. Because this is my point. Policing, almost the definition of policing is to stop crime and not kill the criminal in doing it. You're trying to control the situation and keep the peace. You're not trying to just execute anyone you think you are pretty sure is a criminal. Now, that happens all the time. What happened in the riots last night in Ferguson it was a great example of it. You had an incredible number of police and an incredible number of protesters, and everything was chaos. But the police behaved in an organized way. No one was shot, no one was killed by the police or by the protesters. If one policeman had said, I'm going to run over there, I see some looting, and I'll just go charge in there with my gun and say, all you lie down, and then there would have been a fight, and a bunch of people would have been shot and killed. It would have been terrible. But they didn't. And if somebody had, I think the Missouri police, Ferguson police, National Guard, etc., would be on them. But that's what Officer Wilson did. Officer Wilson saw a big guy and another guy walking down the middle of the street. And so his decision there to deal with that situation, that tragic, dangerous situation, was to whip his police car around and stop it in front of him and block both lanes of traffic and say, supposedly he was civil, he says, get out of the street, whatever. But I mean, that's quite a scene, whip your car around in front of the street, block it because people are walking down the street. So then there was a conflict, and Mr. Brown was wrong. He definitely was wrong, and committed a crime when he went up there to the police car. And then they wrestled, terrible thing. Mr. Brown was in trouble then, no doubt, in my mind too. But gun went off, and then Brown ran down the street. And his friend ran down the street. Officer Wilson then, instead of calling for backup and saying, I think it's just the guy who robbed the store, he just assaulted me, let's get some backup here, there he goes. Instead of staying safely there and calling backup and getting it to a situation where they could just surround him and get him without any problem at all, he jumped out of his car by himself, running down the street towards this guy he describes as Hulk Hogan, and fires a shot, misses. Brown turns around, another whole bunch of crap, and then Brown's dead. Well, I'm saying, Officer Wilson, you shouldn't have gotten out of a car at that point. Call, stay in your car, roll the window up, turn around, follow him in the car, stay on the radio, that kind of thing. It could have easily been policed and not executed, because that's the difference in the way you handled it, Mr. Wilson, versus what proper policing would be. You ended up in an execution situation over someone who, as far as I know, didn't have anything worse on his record than stealing those cigars and had no weapon. So you ended up being judge and jury, Mr. Wilson. and you should have faced some charges. You should have, for bad policing in some capacity. Okay, I'm the Chip Shirley. God bless Ferguson, Missouri. We got to get some justice, but we got to get some peace. It takes both. We do have to have some peace to get some justice. Love you. Take care.